ready to build resiliency, create a healthy lifestyle, and overcome adversity with a warrior mindset. This is Define the Fight with Mariah Prussia.
Hey, rise and grind on this fine Monday, almost midday. And you know what's amazing is when you come in hot. You know, I was talking to James in the back about he felt a little bit behind the 8 ball today. Well, you know what? I felt like I was trying to skip, run, however possible to make sure I was on time today. But you know what? Here we are. And that's literally defining the fight. Is sometimes you're ahead of the game. Sometimes you might be a little bit behind, but then it's balancing that pace to get to where you need to be. So today we are here with an amazing woman that has helped many and continues to. Christy Dauer is the executive director of the North Dakota Women's Center, and I know she has met with me on numerous occasions and has also overcome different cards that she was dealt along the way. But what I can say is if you're looking for empowerment, if you're looking for education, and you're really looking at, hey, what do I want my life to be, that purpose? And if you're looking at becoming an entrepreneur and diving into that water, this is a woman that you really want to be in that boat with you. So Christy, welcome to the show.
Wow, you can't pay for testimonials like that, Mariah.
Hey, you know, we roll with it. But the thing is, like I said, when you've got a connection with individuals and you know them very well and you lead from a heart-centered space, those are the people that you want on your team, 100%.
1,000%.
So Christy, you do a variety of different things. Why don't you break down what you do at the North Dakota Women's Business Center?
Sure. Yeah. So I have been with the center. Actually, I joined as a volunteer back in 2015, the power of community and connection, right? And I fell in love with the mission and grew into the role of executive director in October of 22. And now I cover the state and help entrepreneurs reach their goals. And those entrepreneurs are driving Main Street businesses and creating communities that are thriving across our state.
So you look at the state, not just in Fargo area, it's throughout. How many would you say, like on average, are you meeting with entrepreneurs and also nonprofits too? Let's make sure that we mention that. How many are you seeing and working with on a day-to-day basis, or have you worked with throughout the years?
You know, I am probably the worst details person.
But yet you provide details to other people.
We do.
It's
yes.
Okay. That's why you have a team.
Yes. And I have a very incredible team. And we actually just published our first annual report. And so I know it was over the 2,100 mark. And we do a really good job of collecting data. And so the interesting part about entrepreneurship is there's a lot of those unique pieces that aren't actually captured when you register a business. And so it actually makes it tough to collect the data. But our job our center is actually partnered with Dr. Diana out of NDSU to do some different research projects. And so we will have data in the future.
Hey, it's all about making sure you connect with the right people. With the different entrepreneurs, you know, clearly I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I know there's different challenges and things that I have maneuvered through because my background is not a business degree, and I'm assuming you find that most people do not have business degrees that are diving into starting their own business. What do you find are some of the biggest challenges individuals have when they come to see you?
Yep. So these ones I can't answer because they're not quantifiable data. But I would say the number one reason people come to our center is for access to capital. And then it's those accidental entrepreneurs, right? Those people that are, much like yourself, you have a drive and a passion to create something and the motivation to create something. But often what we can help with is provide the informed business decision-making skills. So is it time to hire an employee? Is my cash flow where it should be to access capital? What other options for cash flow or access to capital are there beyond getting a credit card? We did a study across the state, just prior or kind of during my executive director transition. And we visited all 8 communities or all 8 regions of the state and asked the same questions, and then just listened and tried not to fix right away so we could really get a handle on it. And we learned about the access to capital piece in every corner of our state.
Wow.
And so, and then as a result, we also recently published an anonymous funding survey. Wow, words are hard today.
It's okay. It's Monday. You're still going, girl.
And most businesses are looking for like that micro lending, like, hey, I just need some gap financing to get there. And so we're hearing stories of tenacious business owners that just need that opportunity to really thrive in their business.
Well, I know as an entrepreneur, some of the different things that I found that were challenging is honing in on the vision, because sometimes we want to capture everything. And in the health and wellness industry, it's very vast. So you can have nutrition, personal training, group fitness, all of these different things where it's like, okay, hold on, bring it in. Mm-hmm. And now clearly with a nonprofit, I've really honed in that vision, but it's like, okay, you have to build something small first. Mm-hmm. And then what you want to do is make sure that you are adding to, because there's going to be bumps in the road, especially initially. And then you're going to make those adjustments where you have to shift those things off the road, work through them. It's kind of like a highway. It's not mm-hmm. built in a day. You got to start with different pieces, same as a business.
1,000%. And then especially, you know, what I appreciate about you, Mariah, is you, a lot of it is the market research side of it, right? How are you unique and different than what else is out there? And when we had that initial conversation, I knew you had all these pieces figured out, and you didn't go into it lightly. A lot of people are jumping in because out of necessity versus opportunity. And so that's an important piece of it as well. And I think what I can appreciate is you really taking the pause to do it right and make sure that you had, all of your, geese in a row that are in the background.
Well, right now it's chickens, right?
Oh, so
chickens, my
yes.
chickens at home,
they're
all in a row. But the thing is though, it's like when I started my gym, there was many, many hard points. And a lot of people don't see that. So as you own your business, they assume that you're a business owner. You have all of this cash flow that's coming in. And the reality is you don't, because you're paying your employees first. And when it comes down to looking back at when I had my gym, I started it in 2006. And the fact that I started my business in 3 months time frame, literally building from the ground up, it doesn't happen. But I also knew that things that are meant to happen will. Mm-hmm. But it takes a lot of work. And, there was moments where I was coming up to the checkout line, at the grocery store, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough money to pay for these things. So it's subconsciously, I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, okay, you have to put that back. But eventually it gets to a better phase. But as an entrepreneur, it's not going to be easy at first. So if you're starting that phase, take grace in the fact that it's literally one step at a time.
Absolutely. We were just in Medora for our conference, and I heard this story from just about every one of the participants that approached me. I jumped into business and I didn't know that I needed to have this, or this. And a lot of those were some of those financial pieces. Financials are scary. And even for us, when we ask questions about like, hey, well, what's your revenue? It's like asking like, well, how much do you make this year, right? That's an awkward question and an awkward subject to approach. But if you really want to have a good handle on the economic impact of your business or the strength of your business within the community, you have to have your financials. You have to know them. You have to know your numbers cold. You have to know what your goals are. And much like, how you train your clients in the gym, right? You set goals for them, just like we set goals alongside our businesses.
Now, you had mentioned scary. So when we talk about scary, when we come back, Christy, you do so many different things for so many people, but now you were dealt a card where you had to take the focus outward and take it inward. It's been roughly about 3 years or so when you had an unexpected knock on your door. Do you want to share what was behind that door and how it basically hit you in the blind spot?
Yeah. So exactly 3 years yesterday, I finished radiation. And so it is a bittersweet moment to be 3 years out. I feel very humbled by the fact that I had such a strong community around me, and still do to this day. But 3 years ago, I felt the lump that no woman wants to feel. And I called up my primary care provider and I said, I know it's nothing, but, can I come get it checked? And Dr. Kringley said, yeah, come on in. Yep, we'll get it checked out. And she said, I err on the side of caution. So then things kind of progressed pretty quickly. And so then I went over and had a mammogram. And it was weird because I had watched enough Grey's Anatomy to know that there was something behind her face when she was talking to me. And the most weird thing looking back on it all is she was asking me questions and she was, looking at me with the eyes.
Like you knew there was something she was hunting for.
Yep. And so then she put me back into the waiting room and then said that they were going to take me to an ultrasound. And I was sitting there reading a book about changing the world. And I was, because I just still was like, I had the walls up and it was my mom's birthday. We were going out for dinner that night with our family and nobody was going to shake me, right? And so then they brought me into the ultrasound room and they said, well, don't be surprised if a doctor follows me in here. And I had texted my husband, Joe, and I was like, I think you should have came. And he was at work, so he didn't text me back. But as soon as the doctor walked in and he looked at me and I said, oh my gosh, I think you're my second cousin. And anyways,
you're trying to play light of a potential heavy situation.
And then he's like, well, I better step out. And I said, no, because you already walked in here. Like there's something going on. And you know what, Mariah, our community is so lucky to have a Roger Maris Cancer Center because what they did is they walked me through every step of the way. They walked in and then, and gave me support from day one. So I felt like I didn't have to do it alone. So yes, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and as a result had a lumpectomy. So basically they just took a little ice cream scoop out and it was for me at 37, it was a very easy surgery and I bounced back pretty quickly. And then because my cancer was hormone driven, so it was progesterone and estrogen positive, had those receptors, the wait was the longest, the toughest part. So you talk about defining the fight. Every morning waking up wondering, are the results going to come back today? Are the results going to come back today? Please be less than, I can't remember if it was 28 or whatever, the score, the ONCO score. And I had to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. But I had faith that, whatever card I was dealt, that, I had the best professionals to help us through that, my family and those, that had continued to support me through all of this. And it was, looking back, it all went so fast because then within just a few weeks, I had a full hysterectomy. And then, of course, because of it being hormone driven, I had everything. So I got to wake up from surgery in menopause at 37. And then there was a whole debacle with the breathing tube. So I ended up overnight in the hospital. But I can look back or, I can say this now with such confidence because I had such a great support system. And Roger Maris actually wrapped us with a program called Climb for my boys. So I have 2 tiny humans. And my biggest worry was I need to just go into the closet and cry. And I can't let anybody know that I am crying on the inside. I can't let anybody see me take down the armor. And what Climb told us and what Climb, changed us is no, you have to talk about it. You have to tell your kids what's going on and you have to, you don't have to be strong every day. And so I did. And the other thing they encouraged me is, if you don't want to be asked on Sunday mornings, with the sad eyes from somebody that approaches you, oh, how are you feeling? Instead, share it. So I started sharing my journey on social media. And as a result, I built, somewhat of a community, and there's so many programs in this because I made the choice that if I hide from it, then it gets everybody talking. And so instead I did share a lot of my journey through social media, and I built one heck of a support system. And it was very humbling to see the community show up.
I think when we open our stories and we start sharing them with individuals, it's amazing on how many individuals have different things that are very comparable to or close to. So they have the connection where it's like, I've been there. I understand it. But then it also opens up different ways and different streams for people to look at this like, hey, I've never experienced this. What do I need to know? Or maybe it's raising the awareness on doing self-checks. So you have clearly with being diagnosed with breast cancer, how did that with your health change your vision?
It actually became much clearer. But it actually, another interesting thing for my journey, and this isn't everybody's journey, but after I finished radiation, and I laid there completely burnt and blistered and everything. And that was probably the moment where I started feeling sorry, because I had the surgeries, then I had the radiation, and then it was like this weird, now what? And so, I had somewhat of an internal pity party and because it was like this, it was almost the survivor guilt that you get, because it's like, well, not everybody has the same outcome. Why was I so lucky? How come I found it? But it actually became crystal clear. And it took a lot of deep thinking and really navigating that passion for serving my community, serving with intention. I backed off some boards. If anybody's listening that I was on those boards, it was a choice, right, at that time that I made. And then my 2 tiny humans, they're growing so fast that I was like, I don't have to be everything to everyone. And I basically just started really getting very close, that if you have a text message to me and I haven't responded, it's not because I don't like you. And I always felt like that almost guilt of like, I got to get back to this person. I got to get back to this person. And now it's like, you know what? I'm here and I'm unapologetically who I am. And I don't have to be everything to everyone. And so I have 2 very quickly growing kids that depend on me to be well. And that is mind, body, and spirit. And I learned a lot of that from you, Mariah. And so I used a lot of those skills, and probably could get back into the boot camp.
Hey, now you probably have a different perspective of, okay, Kayla. Yes. But the thing is, though, too, it's like, we're going to go into a break here shortly, Christy. But when we do, there's a lot of different things that come with guilt. And when you are in a place where you are a community leader, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of people that rely on you. And I know, having conversations with you when you first found out, there was a lot of concern. There was stress on, how am I going to be able to hold everybody up? And I think as women, or as confident, strong individuals, it comes down to the fact of, we don't have to hold everybody up. We have to teach them, right? Or provide different tools to help them hold themselves up, because that's really, at the end of the day, if you're trying to put every single person in your hands or have them sit on top of your shoulder, it doesn't work. But it's that obligation, or the feeling of obligation. And it's like, who put it there? Was it the title, or was it you as an individual that wants to climb, that wants to do well? And I think that's a conversation that individuals have. Oh, a lot.
Yeah. All the time, Mariah. Yeah. And you're exactly right. And it was this weird feeling, or this weird sense of like, I just didn't want to let people down. But the truth is, I can't, and no one can.
Right.
That's just not how, we as individuals were designed to do. And so I control what I can control, and I'm much better for it.
What I have found on Define the Fight is I've had so many resilient guests that are on the show, and sometimes people are like, well, they don't even seem like they're emotionally connected to some of their past trauma. Well, the reality is, people do heal through the trauma. But what they don't recognize is sometimes what people see are the highlight reel, and they don't always see what's going on in the locker room. So Christy, I know that you've had different pain points throughout, clearly, and navigating the different shifts of balancing family, of balancing faith, and then also balancing the fact of clearly a diagnosis that you didn't anticipate, on top of, okay, hey, I'm a community leader. What do all of these things look like, and how do they all fit together? So for you, what are some of the pain points or things that you really had to deal with in the locker room? And then clearly there's shifts. So let's talk about the locker room. I mean, you don't have to go crazy in depth. Like when I picture locker room, I don't need to see snapping of the backside or anything like that with towels, but you get the gist.
It wasn't all roses. I found out I had the mammogram and the ultrasound on February 3rd, my mom's birthday, and then 2 days later they got me in for a biopsy, and then at that point they were pretty confident, even before they had sent it to testing, that it was cancer. And so I didn't get a chance to really ease into any of this, and then literally maybe a week and a half later I was meeting with all of my doctors, my husband and I, and his support throughout all of this. I couldn't have done it, because there were times where I laid in bed, couldn't move, having, the couple surgeries that close together, plus, some massive radiation. I mean, radiation burns your skin and burns your internal,
basically kills everything,
kills it. And so I still have like the phantom little like zingers, because I had some lymph nodes removed, and then even just being in menopause, that at that age, I mean, I would stand outside in March. Sorry to any of my neighbors, but I would literally stand out in the middle of the night just drenched in sweat. And that wasn't from working out. That was from just being that, like, just sick.
Well, your hormones aren't regulated.
No. And I didn't get to just ease into that. It was like you woke up and that's hello. And then I had lymphedema. And so I still, it's a constant reminder every day, my wedding ring still doesn't fit. So this one was $14 at Kohl's. But because I always meant like I'm going to get back into it, but my extremities got swollen. And so then, I had to see a physical therapist for that. And when I was walking out of the physical therapist, I was so bloated and swollen in my abdomen. Somebody actually mistakenly asked if I was pregnant, and commented, because I was that misproportionate.
Yeah.
And then I got into my car and I sat there and just bawled my eyes out. And like, what the heck am I going to do from here? I mean, I now people think that I'm pregnant, and then the comments of, well, you can't be sick. You're running around. You're still doing things. You never lost your hair. Well, I didn't know that. I mean, even I probably had some of those stereotypes prior to cancer. And you can still look healthy on the outside, but be, screaming on the inside. And through those moments, I just found out again who my core people were. Both we're lucky enough to have both my parents and my husband's family in town, and a strong support system around us, that we were able to, niche down to our core family and what's important there. But there were, you want to talk about just the not only the physical changes, but then your mind changes too. And it messes with you. It has a really strange way to mess with you of, okay, what's next? What's next? What's coming next? And is it really gone? And, you had a lot of doctor's appointments where there were differing opinions on things too. And so, the biggest thing I could say that got me through that was I changed doctors, and I didn't like what she was saying. And I didn't, I didn't want to be constrained to a bed and on all these medications. I mean, they were throwing all these different kinds of medications at me. And so Dr. Turstrup saved my life. And she said, here's what we're going to do. And and she whipped me into shape real fast. And so big shout out to her, vision and seeing me for who I was and her holistic approach, because she took me off some of the things and said, well, yeah, you can switch this one. You can switch this one. And let's try this. And let's try this combination. And I'm down, 50 or 60 pounds.
You look great. And I'm glad that you mentioned the holistic, because I think people are scared of it, because it's not really spoken about, where it's, here's a prescription, take this, take this, take this, and not really looking at what are the adverse effects and how does this change my body chemistry? How does it impact me mentally? Because there are a lot of adverse effects. And, my mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's not too long ago, and they wanted to put her on a medication. And I read the verbiage for it, and it said, this will not stop your symptoms, nor will it cure it. And this is a trial drug. Then I'm like, so Mom, why would you want to take it? Right. And then I went through and looked at the adverse effects with her, and, sleepless nights, so on and so forth. And then it came into hallucinations, thoughts of suicide, so on and so forth. I'm like, Mom, if this isn't going to change anything and you're not in pain, why take it? So I'm glad that you were an advocate for yourself and hold on, something here needs to change, and that you sought her out.
Well, and the insomnia thing is real.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of sleepless nights, but it was about how to manage those. But, oh yeah, let me tell you how awesome I look with a CPAP on. And so she said, well, you're not sleeping. Maybe maybe there's more to that. So then I did a sleep study, and, they had diagnosed me with sleep apnea, and I graduated from that now, but it was, that I was literally stopping breathing, and then that affects your sleep. Then that affects that, oh gosh, I might need to take a break at 2 p.m. and take a nap because I'm so dang tired. And so, yeah, it wasn't all roses. And I think I'd try to cover a lot of that with humor, or, just kind of trying to brush it off. But the reality is, it was a define the fight moment, Mariah, every single day, because it was a choice, and I had to make that choice every day of, am I going to let this affect, my thoughts and actions and how I show up in the community and for my family, or is this a moment where I can persevere and conquer it and take that step, and not only climb the mountain, but then reach down and grab the next person and take them with me. So I think that was. It was a painful journey.
Well, and I'm sure you had a lot of moments of guilt too, where you had to compromise. So usually when your schedule is set in business, where it's like, nope, I don't want to let this person down, or, you find out, hey, I'm just not feeling well. We're not used to creating those shifts because of the fact of you want to help that individual grow. What were some of the things that you found during that time as you were healing, or how did you take a step back and say, hey, no, I need to focus on self-care, and then I'm going to circle back and make sure that I'm helping others.
So, for that season of my life, and I often refer to it as a season, because it was a season. And for me, the defining part of it was, it truly was, I was trying to do so much and not drop the balls and still show up with the perfect facade, and just with less organs and and a whole host of other things. But what I learned was it was twofold. But one of the things that I learned was that I didn't have to show up in the same way, and that the only person that I can control is myself and how I show up. And so I did get, I had people reaching out via text, and I was very accessible. And if I didn't answer on text, they'd Facebook message me, or they'd email me, or they'd, whatever. And so I started getting a lot more protective of that. And now, I know I can't. I know that I'm not going to respond, and I'm okay with it. But the nasty kind of comments that would come back of like, this is my third time texting you and you still haven't responded. Or some of the social media comments that they'd comment just as negative. And you helped me with a lot of this too, because I didn't know how to deal with it. Because here I am trying to be a nice person and lead with a servant heart. And I was getting the negative of people, but it showed more about their character than anything, right? Like, you're coming from such a negative space and you're coming to me, and I'm freely giving you advice on your next step in business or a nonprofit journey, or hey, as a career coach sometimes, or something. And at the end of the day, it's, that person needed something internally. They were probably fighting their own sort of battle. And so, yeah.
It comes down to a deflection versus a reflection. And I've found that more times than not, it's important for every single individual to make sure that they're establishing healthy boundaries. There's no reason to be getting multiple texts at early morning in multiple streams. And, I speak with my significant other. I said, I am not an instant gratification person when it comes to text messages. I'm just not, because I want to own my space and own my time in that moment. And it's very important for me. And then I said, you know what? I'm also teaching people patience. What were some of those key things that really, there had to have been one that threw you for a curveball, because you can't reach out to every single person and say, hey, guess what? I have cancer. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. So somebody is going to feel a little hurt, but at the same point, you have to focus on you.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? And again, I was rocked, and I hadn't even told, my family at the very early part, because the other thing that I thought was that I could figure it all out and then tell people. But I knew that I needed to step away and back away, and I didn't know what cards were going to be coming my way. But I think that, one of the things I learned is you teach people the way you want to be treated. And what I mean by that is I had zero boundaries. If somebody called at 8:30 at night, I'd answer it. Yep. What do you need? How can I help you? Or 6 p.m. and it's right during dinner. Yep. And I'd step away from the dinner table and I would do that. And my boys just understood it, because I took them at a very, very young age. They were running through, whatever organization I was with, and they'd come and they'd help. And I think that what I hope to instill is servant hearts as well. But what I hope to instill in them is servant hearts with boundaries. And with the harmony or balance aspect too, because I do believe that our community thrives when we are invested in it, but that we don't have to, that balance does exist, right? And so if you answer the phone and say, hey, I've got 15 minutes for you, well, what do you need? And then you stick to it. I've got 15 minutes. What do you need?
Yep.
Kind of like I did when you called, like, oh, I'm on my way.
I'm on my way to church.
What do you need?
It's like, take me to church.
Take me to church. So no, I think that I do think that you don't get caught up into it, and it was fine. And I really learned, the balance of those comments, that maybe there's something else. We don't know the battle that person was maybe facing either. So,
and it's listening to understand. And sometimes I think what I want to throw out there too is for entrepreneurs, since clearly you're helping entrepreneurs, is this. In the beginning, you're going to lose track of your schedule because you're trying to make ends meet. You're trying to get out into the market. You want individuals to understand what your business is really all about. And that's okay. But once you're rolling is really to take a life reflection on what do I want my schedule to look like and set that. So the boundaries, all of those different things. I remember getting text messages at 2:00 in the morning. Hey, Mariah, how does this ingredient label look to you? Right? 2:00 in the morning, like who is grocery shopping at 2 a.m.? And then it was like, you think I'm going to answer at 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
No, probably not. So be firm in your boundaries, but then also understand that, yes, there's certain cases that you're going to bend for. But as a single parent too, you're talking about your boys. They watch, they observe. Yes, they're learning the fact of being a hard worker, but we also want to make sure that is our business more important than our family? And only you can choose what is that level of importance to you. And if you say it's your family, then you need to make sure that you are building your structure and your schedule around the people that you care and love the most. So Christy, how can individuals who are ready to dive into that water, recognizing that they might need a couple rafts or floaties, how do they get a hold of you if they're looking at starting a business?
Yeah, so we have a great team spread out across the state, and we do either in-person or virtual coaching, business coaching, and you can schedule those right online. So if you go to ndwbc.com/business coaching, you can actually schedule one right online. And in the matter of days, you can schedule, we'll send you out a Teams link or a virtual link, or we can meet you in person and really dive into what are those business goals and how can we help you get there and be a thinking partner along your business journey.
And I can tell you from experience, they are absolutely amazing, and they are willing to lend you a helping hand in every single facet. And the reality is you're not going to know everything. So go in there being a sponge so that you can absorb the information that they're providing, because if you are really truly looking and wanting success, it is linking arms with individuals who have done it, but then also have those different strengths and assets that you currently don't have. And I know, like for myself, for being an entrepreneur, I would not change it for the world. I have been an employee and it was great. I had great experiences. But I know that I was born to build, born to create. And if you have that mindset of, hey, I want to leave a lasting impact in some way, shape, or form. You know, if you're scared or uncertain, have a meeting and then you'll know, and they'll guide you like, yeah, this might be the right time, or hey, here's some homework.
Yep. And the opportunity to design. I think that's the freedom and the flexibility point of business ownership, is you do get that opportunity to design the life you want to live.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Christy Dauer, for joining me today. Great friend, an amazing mentor. In life, you're going to get different cards that are thrown at you, but you also have the opportunity to choose how you're going to lay those cards. And I hope and pray that you lean in towards your faith and not into your fear. Link arms with individuals that love, care, and support you. But most importantly, that you define the fight, because when you define that fight, you know that it is your fight to win. Have a great morning, and we will see you next week.